Dirty animal facts that biology class definitely did not teach you. Part 4. The sloth is quite literally too lazy to go looking for a mate, so a female sloth will simply sit in a tree and scream her head off until a male hears it and decides to mate with her. Whenever they feel threatened, turkey vultures will quite literally vomit on their predators to defend themselves. If you and I get too hot, we simply sweat to cool down, but if a vulture gets too hot, it will urinate on its own body to cool off. This also helps kill any diseases they picked up walking through the carcasses of dead animals. Could y'all imagine being so damn dirty that piss cleans you off? When caterpillars enter the chrysalis phase, they don't just sprout wings and turn into a butterfly. Their entire body turns into a soupy liquid that then transforms into a butterfly. And what's crazy is that even after all of this, they still have their memories. Honestly, have no idea how that's possible. Like, did they store that shit in the cloud? Like,
you will never see a great white shark in an aquarium. First of all, these guys are not slow-swimming gentle giants. They can swim about 50 miles a day and dive about 4,000 feet deep into the ocean. So you would need a very big, very deep tank, which I don't think any aquarium has ever received enough funding to even make, nor do I think we have the engineering abilities. Also, you have to be okay with the tank being completely devoid of almost any other life because they tend to eat things around them. And they're quite aggressive and territorial at times. In the past, when people even tried to keep young or small great white sharks, they just don't last that long. They either stop eating or die after a couple days, weeks, or months, or need to be released back into the ocean.
Photos with disturbing stories. Photo in abandoned building. They were not alone. The attic of the house.
I don't need a lot, coffee's only a dime.
There was someone who doesn't live there.
This is the scary story about the window. I woke up to hear knocking on glass. Rubbing my eyes, I looked towards the window, afraid of what I might see. At least I thought it was from the window, until I heard knocking again from the mirror next to me.
So everybody is seeing the same horrifying thing when they go to sleep. Yeah, this is terrifying, so if you do want to sleep tonight, don't watch this video. So sleep paralysis occurs when your brain wakes up but your body is still in a deep sleep and essentially frozen. It is actually a lot more common than people think, but when people wake up, they report seeing a horrifying demon or scary person standing over them. Some people having worse encounters than others, but everybody has one thing in common. Usually a dark shadow lurching over them or standing in the corner of the room. That's what everybody says they see. Now the scariest part is everybody reportedly sees the same thing. These sleep paralysis demons looking pretty much identical across different cultures, different people who have never met or spoken. Some say it's connected to the urban legend of the Dream Man. Have you seen this man before? I don't think you have. Over 30% of people on Earth claim that they have seen this man in their dreams before, and everybody details the same face. The scary thing about this, if you didn't know, is your brain can't actually imagine up faces. Like, your brain physically can't do it. So everybody in your dreams you've seen at some point before. So where the bloody hell have we seen this Donny? Well, as I say, people are now connecting the dots and saying maybe he has something to do with sleep paralysis as well. Like, he's running your dreams and this bloke here is just like, yeah, I come when they waking up. But it is weird, and a lot of people do experience this, so let me know your thoughts, and good night.
This man watched amputation videos and then did the unthinkable to a young woman. During lockdown 2020, 32-year-old Lorraine Cox was living with her fiancé in Scotland. Like loads of people who were separated from family and friends during the restrictions, she decided to reconnect with them when the restrictions eased. She moved back down to Exeter and her friends were excited to see her. She'd been out socialising at one evening, and in the early hours of the 21st of September 2020, she was heading home from a night out. She was captured on CCTV with a man, 24-year-old Azam Mangori. To glance at the image, you may think he was a friend or someone she knew, but he'd actually stalked her for a mile before going up to her and luring her back to his flat. These would be the last pictures of Lorraine alive. When she vanished without any contact with friends and family, they began to share missing persons posters to try and get in contact with her. However, during the search, they found that she'd posted something strange on Facebook. The post stated that she had moved to Plymouth, which they just knew didn't sound like her at all. She was diabetic and she hadn't taken any of her medication. When police discovered the CCTV, Azam continued to change his story. He also gave them a fake name and claimed to be homeless. When police searched the area, they found something shocking. In a nearby alley, Lorraine's dismembered body parts were found in a bin bag. The rest of her body parts weren't found for another 4 days. Police discovered that Lorraine's deceased body had been in Azam's flat for an entire week prior to him deciding to dispose of it. Now, he denied premeditation and said he dismembered her in a panic. However, police found on his search history that he'd been watching amputation videos days prior to her death. He was sentenced to life with a minimum of 20 years.
Creepy photos that can't be explained. This is a picture of Fort Worden, a military base located in Washington state. The base is known for its ghost sightings, which might explain what you're about to see. A few years ago, some boys were on a tour of the base and decided to take some photos. They took dozens of pictures and didn't notice anything weird, until they took a closer look at one of the images. In this picture, you can see a man and his son standing in a hallway of the base. But in the top left corner of the photo, there appears to be a strange looking person or thing hiding right beneath the ceiling. The boys who took this photo insist that nobody else was around them. Many people who have visited Fort Worden claim that they've witnessed paranormal activity, and as the legend goes, the ghost of an officer who died at the base in the 1800s lingers to this day. So what do you think? Could the strange looking man in this photo be a ghost? Comment below.
Here's how you can stay safe in crazy real-world situations. If you see this symbol anywhere, but especially if it's around your house, call the cops immediately. Criminals will write this in the snow or paint it on your house or car. The symbol stands for 1F or 1 female, implying that it's easy to break in and possibly steal something. Right here you can see it's literally painted on the back of a car. The 1F is 1.
I thought I had heard about all the worst serial killers, but this guy was so disgusting that Germany actually banned any book that mentioned him for decades. This is Peter Kürten. He was known as the Vampire of Dusseldorf, and to show you how horrible he was, let me tell you a story. Now, this information comes from a lot of those banned books, which is what we used for research for this episode of the Heart Starts Pounding podcast, but in 1929 in Germany, police noticed that a lot of bodies were showing up on the outskirts of Dusseldorf with very strange things done to them. The bodies had all been stabbed multiple times with a thin pair of scissors, but also their necks were completely mutilated. In fact, it looked like someone had bitten their necks and started drinking their blood. And that was Peter Kürten's whole MO. He would stalk young women and children on the outskirts of Dusseldorf, and when they weren't expecting it, he would attack them and drink their blood, sometimes so much that he would get sick next to their bodies. Peter was so obsessed with blood that when he was being executed, he stood up next to the guillotine and asked the executioner if when his head was chopped off, if he would still be able to hear the blood gushing from his own neck. Peter's head is actually on display in the Ripley's Believe It or Not Museum in Wisconsin. I'm going to spare you what it looks like, but it is horrifying and you can Google it at your own discretion. If you want to hear more about his life and crimes, including why the books about him were banned and more about his childhood, which was absolutely horrible, that may have contributed to him being a killer, you can listen to this episode of the Heart Starts Pounding podcast wherever you get your podcast. This month, we're focusing all on monsters, both on socials and in the podcast, so follow along.
It is a very known rule that you should not tell the people in your dream that you know you're dreaming. So many people have reported creepy things or bad things happening, whether that's in the dream or after this happens in real life. And I just saw this video from this creator named Mona Lisa where she realized in the dream that she was dreaming and she was talking to her best friend in the dream.
But I interrupted and I said, "I'm dreaming right now." She goes, same dead face, she goes, "You're not supposed to say that." Fully, I go, "I'm so sorry. I know. I saw it in a TikTok." And then she immediately switches back on and she goes, "That's fine, just don't do it again." And then starts having a conversation with me like nothing happened. I woke up, obviously, because it scared me.
And that really creeped me out. Like, the whole concept of dreaming is so strange already as it is. And that really reminded me of the Mabelland scene in Gravity Falls, where at some point she says something along the lines of like, "This is not real," or "I want to leave," and everything goes from being happy to being creepy. And in the comments of that creator's video, there are so many people like giving their testimonies, and it makes me be like, this is why I feel like dreams should be studied more. There's also a rule in dreams where you're not supposed to ask the time, or something else bad will happen, or everyone will freak out. And it's just like, who are these people in our dreams, and why is this the way it is? Or is it like we know that something weird is going to happen, and so we're kind of like imagining the scariest situation, because people make it sound scary. So then are we expecting something scary to happen, and since the dream is in our brain, then something scary happens? Let me know your thoughts and follow for more freaky.
Let's see if you have megalophobia. I'm going to show you 5 photos. If you feel too uncomfortable to make it to the 5th photo, then you could have megalophobia. So let's go. Number 1. And how about this? Feeling uncomfortable yet? Nearly there. Last one. If those images made you feel uncomfortable, then you could have megalophobia, which is the fear of large objects. Follow now to see if you can make it through the next phobia test.
This is a true horrifying story, part 25. Warning, this is not a joke. The information that's going to be shared is dangerous and life-threatening. Do not, under any circumstance, commit the actions that will be narrated. This is the world's most dangerous book ever, Shams al-Ma'arif. This book was written by Ahmad al-Buni in the 17th century. But technically, the author of this book is not a human being. I never did and will never read this book. And this is your second warning. Do not read this book. Ahmad al-Buni practiced black magic, and he was in contact with the most powerful jinns and demons before he passed away. The jinns were the authors of this book. The elder generations, like our moms and dads, have heard about this book and they were warned by it. There are thousands of horrifying stories of people who read this book. Shams al-Ma'arif explains everything about black magic, how to get in touch with the world of jinns, how to marry a jinn, and the sacrifices you have to do for the devil, and much more. Unfortunately, this book can be easily found online. One day, a Saudi Arabian man that read hundreds of books for a living decided to read this book specifically out of interest and love for all books, without fearing the consequences behind it. He reached the chapter that teaches readers how to get married to a female jinn. He laughed about it. He tried the ritual to experiment it. The first night after finishing the whole book and completing the marriage ritual, he felt someone breathing next to his face. And on the second night, he felt a hand touching his feet. And on the third night, he heard her voice. The man was officially locked in a marriage with a demon. 5 years go by. He met a normal, beautiful woman that he fell in love with, and they both decided to get married. A week before the wedding day, the bride, the bride's parents, and the groom's parents all pass and die in 3 different car crashes. These are the consequences behind this book. And it's also known from many stories of people that have died from reading the first few pages. If you don't finish reading the book, you will get killed. All my stories, all of them, are true incidents that happened one time only. But this book is a product that is permanently available online. I beg you, do not go anywhere near Shams al-Ma'arif. This video is to educate you on the dangers behind this book. Do not go anywhere close to the world of jinns.
Why
is everyone talking about this woman? It's this woman, 59-year-old Debbie Collier, who was a mother and office manager who was found charred alive in the northeast of Georgia. But while I'm sitting here and I'm, researching this case, it's even stranger than I thought it was. Something is deeply off with this story. So here's what we know. September 10th, she is reported missing, and the following day, her van is found, but she's not inside. So the daughter comes forward. She says that, her mom doesn't have any history of mental illness. She wouldn't be trying to hurt herself. So what happened here? Well, later that day, after the van was found, they go deeper into the woods where Debbie is found on a tarp, described as burned alive. This was a tarp she bought herself at the Dollar Tree, shortly before she was found. Stranger than that, her daughter comes forward and says before she was found, her mom Venmo'd her $2,385, along with this cryptic message. Does that not seem like an oddly specific amount, though?
A woman's body was found stuffed in a duffel bag, and the culprit was the last person anyone expected. When a woman's body was found stuffed in a duffel bag in Forest Park in New York City, police knew they were hunting for a dangerous murderer. It was the 16th of April 2022. Investigators identified the victim as 51-year-old Orsolya Gal. She was a local married mum of two who lived in a beautiful $2 million property. Officers began to unravel secrets that would stun the community. She'd been stabbed almost 60 times, so officers knew that this was a crime of passion. The crime was incredibly personal, and she tried to fight back and had defensive wounds on her hands and fingers. Police noticed drag marks and blood droppings. They determined that the bag with her body inside had been dragged from one location to the other. Officers followed the bloody trail back to her house. Now, the woman, who was originally from Hungary, told her son that she was going out that evening. Her husband, Howard, and her other son, Jamie, were actually out of town in Oregon looking for college options for him. She reportedly returned home that evening just after midnight. Investigators determined that her killer had turned up between the hours of 12:03 and 12:30 a.m. This was 44-year-old David Bonilla. The pair had been having an affair and were said to be on-off. He therefore knew that the spare key for the house was hidden in the barbecue in the garden. They apparently got into a heated argument when he decided to stab her. Police scoured the area for CCTV and saw this haunting clip. It shows a figure dragging the duffel bag down the road. Now, this was at around 4:30 a.m. David was charged with murder but pleaded guilty to first-degree manslaughter. He was therefore given just 25 years in prison.
Why did the government ban this? In the 1920s, the military accidentally invented night vision goggles that could see into the astral realm. You see, a scientist named Walter Kilner invented a blue substance called dicyanin, which was the main ingredient in the night vision goggles just given to the military. But when the soldiers had put them on, they were seeing things that they could not see with the naked eye. You see, when the pilots went to go fight the Vietnam War, they were wearing those goggles and started firing on each other. Yeah, their own people, claiming that they were firing at demons. The military then recalled the goggles and banned dicyanin, making it illegal. Some people that have dicyanin goggles today post videos of them seeing their own aura and other people's aura. And this man here claims that when he looks through dicyanin glass, he could see UFOs in the sky hidden from the naked eye.
А теперь смотрите прикол. Хоба нахуй. Вот она, блядь. Так, ну-ка, сейчас.
But what do you think? Is this all a bunch of nonsense? Or is this our way of seeing in another realm?
This is why you never judge a book by its cover. On the evening of August 7th, 1985, police received a call about a mentally ill woman attacking her family with a gun. When police arrived at her residence, they didn't hear any shooting or hear any noises coming from inside the house. Police tried yelling for the shooter to come outside, but when she didn't listen, they went in. Inside was a massacre. All 5 family members have been killed, including 2 young children. One of the deceased was Sheila Bamber, the mentally ill woman the police have been called about, and she was holding a rifle that was tucked up against her neck with a gunshot wound underneath her chin. This case gained massive media attention, putting pressure on the police to solve it as quickly as possible, and so they jumped to the conclusion that this had to be a murder-suicide perpetrated by Sheila. But one detective felt like they were missing something and kept investigating. And sure enough, he found something hidden under the stairs at the crime scene that meant Sheila could not be the shooter. To find out what's under the stairs and who the shooter is, check out The Murders at White House Farm on HBO Max. The link to it is in my bio. It's awesome.
Breaking news, 5 arrests have been made in the death of actor Matthew Perry, including 2 doctors, his assistant, and the ketamine queen. Perry revealed his decades-long struggle with addiction in his 2022 memoir, Friends, Lover, and the Big Terrible Thing, and how he was prescribed Vicodin after a jet ski accident on a film set in 1997. Eventually, Perry was taking up to 55 pills per day. In 2023, Perry was receiving ketamine infusions for anxiety and depression, but soon slipped back into his addiction and started getting it illegally as well. And that's when 2 medical doctors started providing him the drug off the record. One of the doctors that's been arrested wrote, quote, "I wonder how much this moron will pay, and let's find out." For a vial that cost them $12, they were charging Perry thousands of dollars. Perry eventually sought out a new source because of these expenses, one of them being Jasveen Sangha, known as the ketamine queen, who's also been charged in connection with another man's overdose back in 2019. On October 23rd of last year, Perry was found face down in his hot tub. He died as a result of acute effects of ketamine and drowning. Shortly after this, the defendants tried to cover up their involvement by deleting text messages and apparently forging medical records. Authorities say the ketamine queen sold the drug to Perry's assistant, Kenneth Iwamasa, who injected Perry the day he died, and the syringe was provided by Dr. P, who sold drugs to Perry in the past. 2 defendants, including Perry's assistant, have pleaded guilty to charges already, and a third has agreed to plead guilty. Dr. P and the ketamine queen could face life in prison.
This guy behind me killed a pedophile by posing as an accountant. When police arrested him, he said, "It should be cool to kill these people. Everyone hates pedophiles." This happened in Fremont, California, and 29-year-old Varun Suresh behind me killed a 71-year-old man. The 71-year-old suffered multiple stab wounds and was pronounced dead at the scene. David Brimmer was a 71-year-old, and apparently this guy found him on a sex offender registry. It has been his dream, apparently, to kill a pedophile because they hurt people and deserve to die, is what he said. He made his way door to door, from the neighbors all the way to Brimmer's house, acting as a door-to-door accountant, asking him if they need help with any finances, any taxes. Then, when he got to Brimmer's house, he barged in and stabbed him. The guy said he didn't feel bad for the murder, he expected to be arrested, and he actually said it was actually fun. That last sentence was crazy. But he stabbed Brimmer in the neck in the kitchen. Brimmer ran out to the front yard, he pinned him down, and then stabbed him in the throat multiple times. This happened last week. Suresh was charged with murder that following Monday. I'm curious to see how his trial goes. I know for sure the first charge is obviously going to be the first-degree murder, stuff like that. But I wonder what else they might hit him with. I wonder if his lawyer is going to claim insanity based on all of his statements.
Disturbing things that you should never look up on Google. 16-year-old Daniel Petrie and 12-year-old Gabriel Kuhn were 2 friends from Brazil who were both fans of an online role-playing game called Tibia. But on July 23, 2007, after Gabriel borrowed some in-game money from Daniel but was unable to pay it back, Daniel became absolutely furious. He stormed into Gabriel's room and proceeded to attack and rape him. After that, he strangled Gabriel with a wire until he fainted and went on to cut off his legs with a hacksaw. Gabriel regained consciousness and screamed in pain, but Daniel just kept cutting. The autopsy revealed that Gabriel was alive while his legs were being cut off, but soon died after due to blood loss and pain. Daniel was later sent off to a juvenile offender and served just 3 years in prison.
Here is the most haunted movie of all time. And when I mean haunted movie, I don't mean like an actual scary, I mean like genuinely haunted, like bad things happen because of this movie. A lot of people may know this, but I don't think everybody is informed on it. Today's movie is called The Exorcist. This movie was made in 1973, and the things that happened because of this movie is literally just, it cannot be a coincidence. While shooting one of the scenes, Ellen's harness broke, leaving her with a permanent spine injury. And what's even scarier than that is if you watch the movie, when she screams, it's not like a fake scream, like that was real. Jack and another actor who were scripted to die in the movie actually died in real life. And if that's not scary enough, 7 more people a part of the film all died from unexplained causes. There's still a lot more, it just gets worse and worse. While filming the movie, it was lightning, and this 400-year-old cross that was sitting on the building got struck by lightning and fell right in the middle of all of them. And if that's not bad enough, also while filming the movie, people would randomly just pass out like completely. Make sure to like and follow if you guys want more of these. I will see you guys tomorrow.
This has to be the worst catfishing case I've ever heard. This is Austin Lee Edwards, and he was a 28-year-old Virginia cop who was pretending to be someone else online and was in a relationship with a teen girl in Riverside, California. And then last week, he drove 2,500 miles from Virginia to California to kidnap her. It's reported that he parked at her neighbor's house, got out of his car, walked over to her house where he killed her grandparents and mother and then set the house on fire. He was able to pull the teen girl out of her house and put her in his car, but he was caught a few hours later. He died in a police shootout, though the girl he took was okay. He also quit his policing job 2 weeks before he committed the crime, but his old employer said that his background check had come back completely clean. Right now, we're not sure exactly what platform he was using or what identity he was using, but be safe out there.
This is the haunting true story of Jennifer's solution. Jennifer Pan was an Olympic caliber figure skater and straight A student who won many scholarships and early acceptance to college. Her parents had high expectations and wanted Jennifer to do well in college so that she could become a successful pharmacist. But this all changed in 2010 when police received a horrifying phone call.
What's your name?
My name is Jennifer.
Someone just broke in?
Someone broke in and I heard shots like pops. I don't know what's happening. I'm tied upstairs.
Jennifer made this disturbing call to police right after she witnessed 3 men break into her home and murder her mother and leave her father fatally injured. But the next day, when Jennifer was being interviewed by police, she admitted that she was the one to hire the killers. Jennifer then told the officers that her parents were putting so much pressure on her to succeed that the only way she could get freedom was by hiring 3 hitmen to kill them and make it look like a home invasion.
Busting 4 crazy ocean myths you still believe. Number 1, if dolphins are around, sharks are nowhere to be found. That could not be further from the truth. Sharks and dolphins actually hunt the same fish, same prey, and quite often they will be found near each other or hunting the same thing. Number 2, orca whales are big, cuddly sea pandas. Yes, they are absolutely adorable and I want to give them all the love in the world, but these guys are the ocean's top predator. Nothing eats orcas, nothing. They're at the very, very, very top of the food chain. Number 3, sharks need to continuously swim or else they'll drown. This is actually not entirely true. Some species of sharks, such as great whites and makos, must continuously swim or else they will suffocate, but others can autonomously move water through their gills, such as the nurse shark or horn shark. 4, sharks can't get sick and sharks can't get cancer. Both of these have actually been disproven. It is rare to see sharks get sick due to an extremely strong immune system, and it is very rare to see sharks with cancer. However, both have been found in the wild, showing that it is possible.
You have been plugged into the satanic underground for a long time, correct?
Correct.
Do you think that there's still Satan worshippers that kind of exist secretly?
Secretly, yeah, definitely. So there I was, walking through a forest in Italy with a convicted cannibal and killer, in search of answers in one of Italy's most disturbing criminal cases. The Beasts of Satan murders, a series of disturbing serial killings and rituals carried out by a cult known as the Beasts of Satan. Those kids were killed in the middle of the forest, in the middle of the night. Nobody could hear them scream. Those kids used to go in those woods. Those woods belonged to them. They would do their rituals in those woods. There's a place that is haunted in Italy. It's this place, the woods of the Beasts of Satan. It's believed they killed more than 18 people and got away with it. Satanists come from all over Europe to those woods to practice rituals.
Oh, Jesus! Demon, dude, can't escape from me.
This level of Satanist is getting worse. The monster, we haven't seen anybody since we have entered here. For a reason, everybody avoids this place.
This crime scene photo is so eerie to me because of what's hidden in the image. At first glance, it's just a messy car, but something so disturbing is going on in this photo. It was the 31st of January 1977 in San Jose, California. Jeanette Ralston was an absolutely beautiful 24-year-old woman who was living in the area but originally from Germany. She was friendly, kind, and really sociable. She was married and had a 6-year-old little son. On the night that she vanished, she'd actually been out with a group of her friends, just a normal girls' night out at a bar. However, at some point during the night, she actually went up to her friends and said that she was leaving the bar for just a second and she'd be back in 10 minutes. And they saw her leave from the bar and be followed out by a guy. But she never came back after that 10 minutes, and it was like time was going on, and it was like this was a very strange 10 minutes. Her friends obviously began to worry, and by morning there was still no sign of her. Tragically though, it wasn't very long before there was some really, really disturbing sad news. The following day, Jeanette's car was found right next to an apartment complex which had been really close to the bar that she'd been at. Horrifically, when officers looked inside this car, they saw Jeanette's body dead in the backseat. She'd been strangled to death with a shirt that was still round her neck. And this crime scene had so many more disturbing facts about it. Firstly, they could tell she'd been SA'd by somebody in this car, and presumably whoever had done this to her had then tried, but thankfully failed, to set the car on fire. So the first thing police did obviously was speak to the friends and say, what did this man look like who'd been with her that night? And they were able to give a bit of a description to the police, and they came up with like a police sketch, but sadly it didn't lead to any convictions, arrests. Nothing seemed to be helping in this investigation, and frustratingly it ended up going cold. This was one of those really eerie, disturbing murders that the local community, as time went on, honestly just felt like would never be solved, and whoever did this would never be brought to justice. This was obviously really terrifying for them, but thankfully, after 50 years, there was finally a breakthrough. Investigators had collected DNA evidence from under Jeanette's nails and also from that shirt, the shirt that was effectively the murder weapon. But obviously back in the 70s, DNA testing was like virtually impossible. A packet of smokes was also found on the seat of the car too, which would end up being very, very key to solving this case. There was a fingerprint on this box. Years on, Jeanette's case was reopened, and it turned out that fingerprint testing was basically way more advanced now than it was back in the 70s, obviously, and they were able to test and match that print. It belonged to Willie Eugene Sims, who by this point was 69 years old. He was arrested for Jeanette's murder and is currently awaiting trial, but this actually wasn't his first run-in with the law, which is why I find this case so frustrating. The year after Jeanette's unsolved murder, he was convicted of assault with intent to commit murder in Monterey County and was given just 2.5 months behind bars. I just feel like surely they could have put 2 and 2 together. Surely they could have matched him with that sketch. Surely something could have been done sooner, but hopefully we will get justice soon.
So everybody knows about the Yellowstone hot spring and how most of the pools are 150 degrees Fahrenheit and some even reaching up to 205 degrees Fahrenheit. But did you hear about the tragic horror stories of people actually going in them and being boiled alive? Well, today I'm going to tell you about 3 of those tragic stories, and they didn't end so well. So there was a dude named Colin Scott, right? He was 23, he had just graduated college in 2016, and decided after graduation he was going to travel to his sister, and then they would take a trip to Yellowstone National Park. Once they arrived, all hell broke loose. So Colin and his sister started walking along the boardwalk, which you're supposed to stay on, but decided to go off the boardwalk and up a mountain. The plan was to find a hot spring cool enough to swim in. Mind you, there is multiple signs saying to stay on the boardwalk. Do not go on the grounds. There is hot steam and hot water that can melt you alive. So they find a hot spring, right? They're like, I think this is the one. Colin's like, yo, I'm about to go feel the hot spring, see if it's too hot. While reaching down to feel the temperature of the water, Colin slips. Colin, how do you do the most generic movie thing in the world? Mind you, his sister is filming everything. She frantically tried to grab him, but the water was over 212 degrees, guys. He was done as soon as he landed in that pool. She tried to call, but her phone wasn't having service, but eventually she got through. Rescuers came and they could not do anything. They couldn't even go in to retrieve Colin's body. And eventually it had fully dissolved. All that was left was like his boots. This is why you should listen to signs when they warn you not to do something. The next one is a little bit more sad and maybe a little bit more understandable. David Kerwin. Now David and his friend Ronald Ratliff went out to enjoy a beautiful day at Yellowstone, but they had also brought their dog, but responsibly left him in the car. After stopping to look at one of the springs, Colin's dog escaped the car. They should have left it locked. I don't know if it got through the window or the door, but they should have left it locked, and they should have had the door cracked a bit. The dog then ran towards them, became so excited, and jumped in the pool that they were looking at. The water was 202 degrees that day. You can guess what happened next. The dog was suffering, and David could no longer watch his dog suffer, so he starts taking off his clothes, getting ready to jump in. A bystander that was watching them said, "No, don't go in there." David goes, "Like hell I won't," and jumps in the pool. Just wings it. He tries his best to grab his dog. But let me remind you, that water is boiling hot. It was a wasted effort. And David's body was so badly burned that he was blind, and most of his skin was falling off his bone. A park visitor tried to comfort David when he got out of the pool. And when they tried to take off his shoe, the boot was melted to David. So when they were pulling off the shoe, his foot was also coming off with the boot. David was rushed to the hospital, but sadly succumbed to his injuries. Now, this one's a huge mystery, but y'all let me know in the comments what you think happened, because I suspect foul play. Don Cressy. In 1975, a few friends who were employees at the Yellowstone Spring decided they were gonna sneak out one night and go into one of the hot springs. Have a little party, you know, they knew the springs well, they knew which springs to jump into, which springs not to jump into, which ones were okay to swim in. So they invite Don, right? And Don's like, "Okay, I'm coming through. I'll see you guys tonight." He was a 21-year-old chef who's worked there as well for about 3 summers, so he knew the place like the back of his hand. Yeah, Don didn't end up making it to that party that night. Don was found by a child who was at the Yellowstone Springs, floating in one of the hottest pools there. When the child got his parents and the parents called for help, police suspected that it was just an accident. But his co-workers suspect foul play, because one, Don didn't drive his car there, so somebody had to have drove Don to the Yellowstone Park. Also, the pool Don was in was so far away from the party's location. Why was he even that far? You see, police came up with the conclusion that Don had accidentally jumped into the wrong pool while looking for the party. Don had worked there for 3 summers. How could Don have jumped in the wrong pool? He knew the place like the back of his hand. Seems fishy to me.